Heidi ho, good neighbors. It's Phil Russert. I'm here with Creatorcon Q&A. It is a Monday night special episode with a really cool guy and a great indie creator, and we're going to get into that shortly. Before we do, usual shout-outs and things like that. I just want to remind you, if you're in the New York, Long Island area, this Saturday, December 12th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. is a small little art sale and meet and greet with Larry Stroman, Keith Williams, Pete Vasquez, and a whole slew of other artists that will be there. Henry Martinez, Mauro Zapata, Tony Cordos, Alex Rivera, and I will be there under the Legendary Illustrations banner. So please come on out this Saturday. It's 118 Veterans Highway, Comac, New York. It is the Devotion art comic sale, and it is a cool little get-together, $5 cash at the door. So this Saturday, come out. Check it out. It's going to be a lot of space. We can social distance, masks mandatory. It'll be good. Also, just so you know, we have a couple of podcasts that are really cool. I want to remind you of Comics Cast with Joe Tolliver and Jarrell Motos. Go check out Comics Cast. Great group of guys. They do a lot of great shows, have a lot of great guests, especially in the indie scene. Please check them out. Android's Amazing Podcast with James and Hunter is a great show, and they're very knowledgeable. They do even up-to-date week by week what's coming out this week and what's going on, so check them out. Oh, I got to put my comments on. I always forget to do that. Hey, Kevin, how's it going? The Bit and Apple, please check them out. They're here on the internet. They're a great podcast show. It came from the radio with host Mark Torres. Mad Titan Comics, Mad Titan _comics on Instagram, and Eric Gunderson is the owner and operator on Facebook. Let's do this. Andy Lee, www.lesdudis.com. Everything pop culture and geek culture. Go check him out. Art by Kike. Hey, Antonio, how are you? Art by Kike, which is the Instagram page for Enrique Lopez. Every Monday night, 8 p.m., Inking with Kike. He does a new show where he inks and has a special artist guest. And last but not least, come check out nsclivetv.com, the comic book network created for geeks by geeks, featuring live sales, comic shops, creators, podcasts, cosplay, news, and interviews. That's nsclive.com. All right, so without further ado, hey, Bill Field, how are you, my friend? I haven't talked to you in a while. So our guest tonight is a writer, an indie creator. He has a Kickstarter going on right now, which is scrolling on the bottom of your screen right there. So please click on that and check it out. I'll make sure I pronounce this right. It's Xenonanite Titan, The Fall Before the Rise. He's laughing backstage. I knew I was going to screw that up. I have to tell you, reading them, it's a really great read. I've enjoyed it. It has a lot of great dynamics to it. But we're going to get into that once we get our guest aboard. So without further ado, Russell Allen.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Jinx, you owe me a Coke. Is that what the old people say?
That's right, yeah. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. That's right. That's the old adage, as they say.
So how are you doing, man? Hanging in there?
I'm hanging in there. I'm still alive.
Everything you were telling me.
Yeah, I'm still alive. I'm still kicking, and I'm pushing this out into the ether, man. I'm excited to make it happen. You know, it's awesome. Been a project 10 years in the making.
Hi, Heather. How are you? By the way, everybody, Armando, hey, Armando says, hey, Russ, thanks for coming out. I just want to remind everybody, please share this out live. The more people we get Russell's campaign out to, the more people pledge, the more funded he gets, the better the product you get. So please share this out live, share it out in groups, share it out to anybody who listen. We want to get Russell exposure for his Indiegogo, okay? We really want to get this going. Now, having said that,
we already get exposure.
Yeah. No pan zone. Nice. Just don't stand up.
Yeah, don't stand up. That's the old joke, you know, since 2020 happened. You know, we have to do these at-home cons. And, you know, I was joking about it being Pantsless Con 2020. And then it was like a week and a half later, there's this news story about this guy that did a story on the news. And he didn't realize the camera was panned down, and he was in his boxers, and he had the suit top on, but no bottoms on.
No,
and everybody could see his boxers.
That's great.
I was like, that's hilarious.
It's a good thing you didn't have any morning wood. That would really be a show.
And now for the weather with morning wood.
Yes. Yeah. Apparently, he's pointing north. Um, so let's get into this. You're writing a book right now, which is a sci-fi, but it's more than sci-fi. Personally, I think it's very layered. It's really well written. It's a human story. Um, but before we get into that, I want to get into a little bit about you. All right. So, what inspired you to become a writer to begin with? Where did you start writing?
I've always been creative. As when we're kids, we come up with some of the most creative stories when we get in trouble about what really happened. And, I think that's where it all started for me, because I just came out. My parents told me that I came up with some of the craziest stuff. But, when I really decided that I was going to write stories, it was probably around like third grade. We had these exercises we would do in class where we would color a picture. And then once we colored the picture, we had to write a story about what was going on in the picture. And, most kids would write like a page, and, I'd turn mine and it'd be like 20 pages. I'd make up this whole universe about it, and every little dynamic of the picture, I had a story to tell about it and was included in there. And the teacher was just blown away. She was like, you can make a living at this one day, if you stay with it. And I've always enjoyed being creative. And it was kind of one of those things that, I was like, I want to write. I love blowing stuff up too. And, as the years went on, people told me, oh, you don't want to be a writer. You're never going to be able to make a living at that. It's really hard to get into. There's really no way to promote yourself. And if you don't make it big and get in with one of the big publishers, you're never going to be able to do anything with your life. So get a real job. And so, that's kind of where it began and where it ended at the same time.
Well, I always said there's two different people in the world. There's the person that's on the radio and the person that's not telling you you'll never be on the radio.
That's right.
I'd personally rather be the guy on the radio, but that's just me. And someone has to be there, right? So if we all listen to those people, nobody would be on the radio. So that's it, man. You got to do it. Who are some of the writers that inspire you, or do you not really? Is that something you don't follow?
I never really had anybody that really inspired me so much to want to write. I mean, it was something that I always did on my own. I mean, even after I, gave up the passion of wanting to write and do that as a living. But, when I was a kid, I grew up, I read, the Animorphs books and Goosebumps and, all the stuff, the Nintendo adventure books, like, you had Master Blaster and all those. And, I just would randomly check out books in the library. I was like, oh, looks cool. And I would have to say my favorite, one of my favorite literary works is probably Brian Jakes' work with the Mossflower series. That's something that I have, that I talk about on my website is, I don't know what it is about it. I found Mossflower in my library. I was in like, I want to say probably I was in probably sixth grade, I think. And I found it. And, so it was like back in the 90s, I come across this book, it's well worn. And I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I had a couple of animals on the cover with swords. And I'm like, this looks really cool. So, I took it home and I read it and I couldn't put it down. I loved it. It wasn't like there's this looming doom or, it wasn't a book that you could really predict what was going to happen. It was so well written because, it's like, hey, here's this character, Martin the Warrior, and he goes on this adventure and, they got to figure this out. No, this happens. And you never knew what was going to happen. There was always different dynamics and the ways that the stories change. And I just fell in love with his storytelling. And so, up until he passed away, every time a book would come out, I was like, I don't care if I'm 30 when the last book comes out, I'm still going to keep reading these. Cause the books were geared kind of more to like young adult, and they can be kind of adult. And they did make like a cartoon on it that was more geared towards kids and stuff that aired on PBS for a while. But, the book just, as an adult reading the book, you pick up, yes, the Redwall series is just freaking amazing, man. And I take a lot of flack for it. So you got people on both sides of the fence. Some people are like, oh, the Redwall series. And then other people, like Armando, are like, oh, the Redwall series, that was awesome. There was several key books. The Pearls of Lucha was one of my favorite books in the series. And I was just really sad when he passed away because, I'd never really found another author that wrote the way that he did. And, I read other stuff too, Star Wars fan novels and, the Doom novels and, the Golden Compass and the Subtle Knife, of course, the sequel. And then the Harry Potter books, Lord of the Rings. I dabble in pretty much all kinds of media. there really isn't anything that I don't delve into, you know, book wise, comic book wise, anime, movies. You know, I pretty much dabble in everything. I don't have one set medium that I prefer over the other.
Lord of the Rings was my favorite series of all time. Book series. I read it at 9 years old, and I've read it several times since. Phenomenal. I can't wait to introduce my kids to it. I mean,
Oh, I
obviously
know.
Tolkien, his language, you know, they won't have the attention span right now, but I can't wait.
And
Um,
that's how I am with the Lord or with the Redwall series. You know, I have all of the books. The last couple of books, you know, of course, when I got older and I had a job, when I could afford it, I got the nice hardcover books that have, you know, the bigger illustrations in it. And that's something I can't wait to do because I love that series so much. You know, I want to see my kids fall in love with it. And, you know, when they get old enough, you know, that's what we'll read. I'll read to them and I'll start, you know, a chapter and, you know, hopefully make it to the end and they'll fall in love with it like I did.
yeah, that's an awesome feeling. My kids, I'm also a big Star Wars fan, and they love it. And we have lightsaber battles, and when you can pass that on and share that, I don't force anything on them. They genuinely like it, and they gravitated towards it. And my oldest that you met, she loves Star Wars, so I'm excited. We've shown them every movie, even the animated one, and we are on the 5 minute Clone Wars cartoons that were on Cartoon Network. I have those volumes, and they're watching the Clone Wars show. They even watch the animated one, so it's fun. So you're writing and you're writing this book. What's your process for writing? I mean, reading the book, I thought your pace was good because you get into things fairly quickly. You know, you don't bore the reader, but you did give some backstory and it gave us a moment to of some characterization to kind of understand who it is that we're rooting for, why we're rooting for them, and how we can connect to that character, which I think is a very special and important thing as a writer. So, what was your process? What is your process for writing this book?
Do you really want to know the truth?
Give it
I
to us,
don't.
man.
I don't have a process, man. I'm one of those people that I can sit down and I can write from start to finish. If I have the time to sit down and write, I could have wrote that book in one day, exactly the way it's written now.
Wow.
I did make a few edits. That's just me, you know. When I'm on the live shows, you know, I'm just, you know, rolling, you know, cracking jokes, you know. It's just me. I'm creative. I come up with stuff, and I write it down.
So you pull it out of
People,
your ass, basically.
yeah, exactly. That's what I said on one of the lives that I did not so long ago. I was like, you know, I was like, you know, hey. So the book was written, all of it's wrote, 900 pages of it, you know, and it's kind of confusing on the Kickstarter. I need to go in and like kind of tweak it a little bit because it's not like super confusing, but you know, if you look at it from a certain way, I, I so I got that I wrote book one, rewrote book one, and then I'm writing book two again. And I had like maybe two people ask me and say, "Hey, well, you know, what do you mean you're rewriting book two?" Book one had a huge rewrite. So I wrote this book back in 2010. I ended in 15 with it because of the stuff that happened in life. And you know, I picked it back up, and I was like, you know, I really love the way the story went from point A to point B, but I think I can really add some more character dynamic to it and, you know, give people more of a feeling of empathy for the characters. And, you know, I think it really helped me build the emotion for the scenes that needed it. And it's like, you know, that's just the way that I write. I just want to go into it. And I want it to be fast paced. That way you're always interested. And I try to end each chapter on something that you're going to be like, you know, I really kind of want to know what's going to happen next. Do I want to stay up another hour and read it? And, you know, you have that little tickle in the back of your mind that you don't want to stop reading this book because that was what's so great about, you know, the Red Ball series. And I wanted to recreate that in my writing. And, you know, the other dynamic to the book with writing is I wanted it to be, you know, you to think you knew what was going on.
Right.
And then you get to that point that you're like, this is what's going to happen. And then you're like, what? Wait,
Those are
what?
the best books, man. You don't want this typical script that you know where it's
Yeah.
flowing. That's why I hate the CW shows. Same damn thing every week. So I agree.
Well, and
But
my wife hates watching anything with me because I ruin almost every movie we watch. I'm like, oh, you know, we get 10 minutes in, and I'm like, oh, this is what's going to happen. She's like, no, it's not. And then it happens. She's like, you suck. You ruin every freaking movie we watch. And
so
every
good to
once in a
know. I'll
while,
never go to the movies with you.
and every once in a while, I'm wrong, you know, and I'm like, we got to buy this movie. This movie's awesome. You know, like that was like, you know, the Unbreakable series.
Yeah.
When Mr. Glass came out, I won't do any spoilers. I'm not going to say anything about the movie, so nobody mute your speakers. I'm not going to say anything about the story.
Despite it's 3 years old, but that's okay.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I just recently seen. I loved Unbreakable. Like, I had nothing but good things to say, and I always loved Unbreakable, and I never thought that they were going to finish it. And then, uh, oh, what the heck was the second one called?
Split.
Split, yeah, thank you. So Split and Mr. Glass came out, and when we had Roderick then, so we don't really go to the movies, because with him being a heart kid and him having all these operations, and us not really knowing what's going on, we don't really. The first time we left was somebody cut his fingers off. We'll just leave it at that. He didn't. They had a high back bar stool, and they turned around to make a sandwich for their daughter, and he climbed up on it, and it fell back, and it severed these two fingers right here. So, like, we kind of, ever since then, we're like, yeah, we'll just stay home. We won't go to the movies.
Dude, I don't think you should go out in a lightning storm. I'm just telling you that right now. And I'm not walking next to you if you do.
Well, no, that was when he was a year old. So that's been like 4 years ago. But, so we don't really go out a whole lot. So, we just recently got him. But, when we watched Mr. Glass, I was like, each movie it took you along for a ride. You never really knew what was going to happen because they kind of hinted around about stuff, but nothing was really solid.
I mean, we kind of did a spoiler as far as Split because you don't know until, you don't realize it's attached. But by the way, John Ottinger said hello. John is a great guy, part of the Rogues Gallery, has a wonderful creative project of his own. So he's a really great guy.
Hey, John.
So what I liked about the story was the very human dynamic, and being a family man. I thought, that was nice. That relatable. That was the part I liked. But I also liked, and I'm not going to spoil anything. Any tragedies or things that happen to the protagonist in this, you don't just drop it like a lot of stories do. It weighs on him. It stays with him. And you bring it up from time to time. It's not like any one of us. If we suffered a tragedy, it's not like, oh, and then okay, what are we doing now? It stays with you. And these are shocking events that happen to this protagonist that, of course, they're going to sit with you. They're not just everyday things you go through. So I thought the writing on that aspect was very, very relatable. It was really well written and realistic in an unrealistic world, of course, because it's sci-fi. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's one of the biggest things in the books and in movies or anything is when a character undergoes a tragedy, it's not something that you really want to move past and just, go through the rest of the movie and pretend it never happened. This is kind of the building of the origin story of Raziel Stevens. I plan on eventually down the road after the trilogy's over, because of course I wrote the book, I'm splitting it up and I'm doing the rewrite to change all the stuff that I changed in book one throughout the rest of the story. But, I plan on doing like a comic book series. And, this is kind of you watching Raziel Stevens turn from a family man into where we end up once the comic book series starts. And I want, you see that character development and you see those tragedies weigh on him and actually be kind of what shapes him to be the way that he is. Because I think it's super important. And, as a family man myself, with the stuff we've had happen, it's stuff that, he had open heart surgery at a week old, but that stuff still weighs on me. It's been 5 years ago, but it's, you think back on it and you're like, man, I can't believe we've made it this far. And, so it's not something you ever really just let go and you're like, oh yeah, it happened, right, but we're good now,
I agree. But also, again, though, you're right in a way where you're not bludgeoning us over the head like, okay, we get it, you feel blah, blah. It's in a realistic way. Like, it comes up when it needs to come up, when those moments make you anxious or longing for family or whatever. So was the family aspect then directly inspired and tied to, your experiences with your family, your own health, your child, things like that?
Yeah, I think a lot of that dynamic was put into it with the rewrite. Before it had that dynamic in it, but I don't think it had as much emotion in it as it does now. I mean, there's scenes in the book where, it's something simple, where you're longing for home and Raziel pulls out a picture of his family and looks at it and, runs his fingers across Allison's face, and he's thinking about family. It's not like I'm beating you over the head and like, oh, boo-hoo, I miss my mom. It's something subtle like that. He pulls a picture out and he's like, I don't remember what they look like. It's been so long,
And their side of things too, you get into. So, which is good. The dynamic of how it is to be on their side of what's going on, which I don't want to. I'll let you tell as far as you want to
Yeah.
tell the story.
And
But
so I do break up the story. So you'll read the story, and as the events unfold in the book of the things that happen to Raziel, the dynamic does change to Allison's side of the story. So there is a dynamic that they are apart. He gets thrown out into the unknown, and neither one of them knows what's going on the other one's end. But I didn't want to just leave it like, oh, here's the story, and it's completely about Raziel.
right,
I wanted to take a break from it and refresh the story and start with something new and say, okay, here's Allison and Robert and Natalie, and you've got their side of the story of what's going on while everything else is taking place. And I thought, that was a really fun way to write it, because it not only kept things fresh and interesting, but you kind of knew what was going on the other side.
right. By the way, hey Christina, thanks for showing up. How difficult was it to create two narratives like that?
It really wasn't, because in suffering the tragedies that we have with our family, with our son having open heart surgery at a week old, and then him having a cardiac cath at 11 months, and another open heart at 2.5, and finding out he's going to have these for the rest of his life. I see the dynamic, the way that these tragedies and the stuff that happens. When my wife had to go in and have surgery because she had precancerous cells a few years ago, they did a hysterectomy on her. Seeing the stuff, I like watching people. Like, I don't want to make it sound creepy, but I watch people and I watch their emotions.
In a tree.
Yeah, in a tree, in a bush. So, as a creative person, I find myself watching people and just their actions, their emotions, the way they respond to stimuli. And, I think it creates a great dynamic when you're bringing in other characters into the book, because you can go, oh, I know this guy. I've known him for a few years, and he's kind of shady, and he acts this way. He'll be great to use for this character, because this is the way I want this character to be. And I could use their actions, the way they talk, the way they act,
Sure.
to kind of build that character. And it seems realistic, and it's because it is. There really is a way that exists that's like that. And so, in watching, my wife and my kids and the way they respond to the stuff that's happened over the last 5 years, and watching other people, it's like, I didn't feel that writing two narratives was really too difficult. Watching my wife suffer in January when they thought that I had cancer, and the times that she was up at night crying and she didn't think I knew about it, and the stuff that went on. We had a lot of stuff that went on, and even though we try to hide it, you still pick up on that kind of stuff. And so it made it really easy to go back, and when I was going through the narratives, to really build that emotional bond between Allison missing Raziel and Raziel missing Allison, and the way the kids acted with him being away.
Was this a little cathartic for you in writing this, going through everything you've been going, the emotional roller coaster?
Yeah, I think so.
Heather says, hang on, okay. Can you drop off wine the next time you're outside?
Do what?
She said, drop off wine the next time you're outside. You say you don't go out much, so.
Oh, yeah.
Phil Leon says, hey there, Russ and Phil. What's going on, Phil?
What's going on, Phil?
Good name.
I want to say yes. This was, this was kind of, when I found out that they thought that I had cancer back in January, this was kind of like my bucket list. I'm like, what do I regret most in my life? As a family, we've done a lot of stuff together. I got married. I've had a family. I never really cared to travel much, so I didn't have these massive, I want to go to France or, visit the Eiffel Tower, or, I didn't have anything major like that I wanted to do, but I sat down and I was like, what do I regret not doing the most? And it's like the first thing that popped into my head is, 10 years ago, your wife bought you this Chromebook because you wanted to write this book. It's been eating away at you your whole life, that you wanted to get these stories out of your head. And you got this Chromebook and you wrote this book and you gave up on it. why don't you do it and, leave something behind? Maybe your son one day, if something does end up happening to you, can pick up and continue on the story. And, it's something that they can be proud of. Hey,
Damn right.
my dad cranked this out, he may have been dying from cancer, and he put this book out, to try to be an inspiration for other people, not to give up on your dreams. And that was kind of what it was. It was like, no matter what, I'm pushing through. I started Russ Explode Studios and ended up turning into me doing creator and artist interviews every Sunday and Tuesday. And, here we are 9 months later, and it's like, I don't have cancer. And there's other stuff
Thank
going
God.
on. Thank God. Yeah. I've got 11 bulging discs and 2 blown discs in my back. That's been lurking. They were so focused on the cancer, they missed all this stuff. And it's like, I'll take that over cancer any day.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I mean, this was a little cathartic. It was me, if you guys go and you read the intro and where I leave off at chapter 2, at the very end of chapter 2, that's really emotional for me when Raziel says his goodbyes, because something happens and he's saying his goodbyes to his family. And it was kind of like me, it was emotional for me because it felt like through Raziel, I was saying goodbye to my family, that this was it.
One of my biggest fears, and I don't have many fears in life, which scares my wife, is me not being alive and well to walk my daughters down the aisle, having guided them into adulthood. So just that alone, reading that and knowing that he's, that things are going to happen and he's not returning. It hit me. Just because I think any parent be afraid to not, to not be there to walk, especially if father walk their daughter down the aisle, have daddy daughter dance, or if their son to teach him how to shave,
Yeah.
teach him how to be a man. I love those dynamics that you put in the book. Just real quick, Antonio had said, "Thank God." He prays and hopes that you finish your book. Thank you, Antonio. And Christina said, "Do you feel proud of your work so far?"
I feel absolutely proud of my work so far, guys. I cannot be more excited. It's like I sent you the full copy of the book, Philip. It wasn't that, I'm not afraid to hide the book. I sent it to you. I sent it to Brian K. Morris. I sent it to Wendy, Tom
Nice.
Hutchison. I sent it to Jack Napier, a lot of people. And I'm like, hey, read this, check it out, tell everybody how good it is. So when the time comes that this book comes out for the Kickstarter, in my head, it was, if I'm not here to promote it, there'll be somebody pushing it. Because, so here's one of the other ends of the dynamic, just to touch back on what you were saying, a lot of it for me was why it's so emotional is if something happens to me, Roger's going to go through these open heart surgeries the rest of his life without me. And for me, that hit really hard.
Yeah.
And so,
and your wife, you also
yeah.
hit the dynamic. I mean, her having to deal with that without you.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody there, to help her through it. And plus, that led into the other dynamic of me doing the book was because COVID was going on in March, when the shutdown happened, that all the doctor's offices closed. So we had no idea if the PET scan showed significant evidence of malignancy. We never got a confirmation that it was or it wasn't cancer. So I went from March until June before I even went back to the doctor.
And it tortures that psychologically.
Yeah, and then it was September when I found out that I didn't. So this whole time I'm going, I'm the only one working because when Roderick was born, we made the decision of you stay home with him because daycares really don't want the liability of having him, when he was young because he had so much stuff going on. We had to take him all the time. They had to put a cadaver artery in to form a second coronary artery because his coronary arteries never split. And there was all this stuff that he had to have checked all the time. And I'm like, daycare is so expensive. And then we had a second child. I'm like, daycare is going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
It wasn't really worth it for her to work.
And so medical bills and co-pays and meeting your deductibles, that's insurance my ass. You're spending a lot.
Yeah. And so, it was kind of the thing of, okay, we made the decision for her to stay home. So she hasn't worked the last 5 years. Now everything's shutting down. People are losing their jobs. Places are closing. If something happens to me, they have no income coming in. They're going to lose the house. They're going to lose the vehicle. I mean, the one vehicle's paid for. Of course, the other one got totaled, so I had to go get a new one. And so, all the how are they going to be able to keep the electric on, the water on? And I'm like, I got this badass book that I'm super proud of, and I'm excited about because it really is a great story. And I'm going to tell you guys, book one is phenomenal. And if you even think a glimpse of that, book one is phenomenal. Book two is going to blow it out of the water. There's going to be so much more dynamics that are brought in book two, and it only gets better from here. It really does. And it's really hard for me not to spoil what there is to come, because, every time I think about it, I just get all giddy inside, and I'm just like, oh man, you guys are going to be, it's awesome. So I'm super proud of this book. I really am. Thanks, Phil. I really appreciate that, buddy. And I'm really proud of this book.
Well, I don't know if I'm a great dad. I smack him around, throw him in a closet. Of course, I'm kidding. People will believe me, and I'll be services at my house.
Don't tell them about how you string them upside down.
Yeah, right. Pinata time.
Pinata time.
Antonio is asking the question where we're going to actually go to next. He said, what's the book about? So we're going to go look at the Kickstarter. I'm going to show the video, and then you can give us your take, your of what it is that we are going to be looking at. Okay. So I'm going to take us off screen for a minute, and I'm going to show the video. Great music. Now, I'm just going to let you know, though, you have Steph Wilson on it. I'm sorry. I'm out. No. All right. So, great intro. The music was awesome. Where do we stand?
I love it. It's like a movie.
Yeah. And by the way, I love how you put those, like the Caesar, like the crown around the words of like the independent. Excellent production. I love it. Now,
thank you.
We're going to pop this up again. We'll see if everybody can see where you're at right now. You got 9 days to go. So tell us about this story. Tell us why they all need to click that link right now and pledge on this and get this funded.
It's a great story. It really is. It's got a lot of emotional dynamic to it. You're going to follow the journey of Raziel Stevens. This is his origin story on how Xenonanite Titan came to be. What was the suit created for? Why was it made? Who made it? And ultimately, what is going on with the Earth? And if you read the intro chapters that are on the Kickstarter, where it leaves off, he gets cast into the unknown, and so this kind of follows the journey of how he comes to be. And it's hard to talk about it without spoiling it.
I know.
It is so hard.
Well, if you don't mind, what I would say is this. It's science fiction, but told from a human angle. there's superhero elements, there's action, there's fighting, there's tech, there's space, there's other
And there's a
worlds,
love
there's
dynamic to it.
yeah, there's other worlds, but there's also a message about our world and what's where we are and where we could be headed. There's a message about family and love and loss and gain and courage and the elements that connect us all as human beings. I think is the strongest point of this book, because as much as the sci-fi is interesting and the action is fun and the writing is well done, emotionally connecting to characters, loss, tragedy, how they deal with it, the human side of things, to me is the most appealing, because I think we've all forgotten that deep down we all fear, we all get angry, we all love, we all want to be loved, we all want to just feel like a bigger part of something. And when you can read something and feel connected to those things that really we all share and we've seemed to have forgotten, then I think it propels a story even beyond any awesome sci-fi set piece or sci-fi action. So that's what I would tell everybody. This isn't just an ordinary sci-fi book. You're going to take away the human emotion from it, the things that you have in your heart that you may feel like you're the only one who thinks that way, whether you're a family man or a wife struggling with loss, or children, or just humanly, we've all had somebody in our lives that whether we fear we're going to lose or have been lost or whatever, those things that we go through. So I think it really connects in that level. So I guess that's what I would say without ruining anything of the plot.
Yeah, and there's a lot of dynamic to the story too. The way that it's wrote, if you read it, from an outside standpoint, it really can transport you and make you forget about the things that are going in your life. You can struggle through someone else's story and see the things that they go through, and it's kind of like a psychological piece that kind of can help you get through stuff, because you can put yourself in someone else's shoes. I mean, we all project ourselves. Some of us, when we have a bad day, we go home and we play video games, or we read a book, or we read a comic book, or whatever it is that we do to escape from our daily lives. But this is an incredible story. You're following a man who loses it all, and he's cast into the unknown, and he's struggling basically to find himself and pull against all adversity, pull himself out of it, and make his way back home and be with his family. And that's what it's all about.
Now, this isn't a sequential comic book, correct? This is a book. It's a novella, but it has pages of art in it.
Yeah, so there's 11 pages of illustration. So we got Ed Williams, Wendy Steen Shaner, even at Revis Fournier, Steph Wilson, Chris McJunkin, Jason So, CB Zane. We also had April Grady Reyna did a piece. She did the art for the metal trading card, which is one of the stretch goals. We had Pete Vasquez, who did the art for the metal bookmark, which is another one of the stretch
Oh, I didn't know
goals.
Pete was on this.
Yep, and then the cover art is done by Alfred Trujillo, Doobie Doobie Doo. And then we got David Harrigan, Armando Ramirez. So, I mean, we got a phenomenal lineup. My goal with the book was not only to write a great story that you can really take hold of and feel at home with, but I wanted to take and bring in all the indie artists that I can. So with book one, I brought in a lot of the guys that I've known for a while, that I've talked to. I've watched them draw live, and I'm like, hey, I want to bring your art into another medium. I really want to do chapter illustrations. I really want to bring to life each chapter, and at the end have something that when you look at the art from the get-go, you're gonna be like, why is this like this? And then you're gonna read the chapters, and you're going to get to the art that's at the end of the chapter, and all the things that didn't make sense are going to make sense. But you're not going to know it until you read it. So there are a lot of Easter eggs that are hidden in there, and it was a lot of fun. It was a collaboration on both ends. Each artist, I gave them, their section of the book, aside from a few, like Ed didn't really have a part of the book. Ed helped me do the kind of the baseline art for everybody else to base their art off of. And so when the other artists, I gave them their section of the book and I said, read this, take from it what you need, and build the piece that contains this, 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 and this. Go. And none of the pieces have edits. There was only 2 edits that were made. Wendy Steen Shaner's, when she sent it to me, she said, "What do you think?" I said, "I love it, but it could use more explosions. You know, this is Russ Explode Studios." And I was kind of like, I hated asking her to do that because, you know, she
Yeah.
did a phenomenal job. And she's just like all squeeing and she's super excited. She's like, I love explosions. I was like, me too, you know. That's what I did for a while. I did blasting. I went to school for mining engineering with explosives emphasis because I like to blow stuff up. That's why it's Russ Explode Studios.
Nice.
Everything I do has a meaning to it. You know, the Russ Explode Studios is because that's, you know, always been my tag name is Russ Explode. I already have everything on it, so it made it easy for everybody to find my
Sure.
stuff. And, you know, then, and I like to blow stuff up. And then the Books with Heart kind of has 2 meanings to it. It's, you know, my son with his heart problems, and then the fact that my books contain my heart and soul in it, that I'm going to put everything into these books. And so that's what was really great working with each one of these artists. You know, I gave them the freedom to do whatever they wanted to do with the piece. Here's the base art. Do what you want. You know, you see Steph Wilson's piece. The armor's free floating on the surface. It was a really cool dynamic. It was something I never really thought of. And, you know, like even at Revis Fournier's piece, you know, with Wyvernite, you know, one of the beasts that happens later on in the book. And, you know, it was really cool because I got, you know, I commissioned the pieces. They read their parts of the book. I got them back and I'm like, you know, I need to make changes to the book to where this piece is really going to stand out. And so, you know, we had what I want to have when I get to the comic book aspect of doing, you know, a comic book towards the end with this. You know, if it ends up happening, you know, I want to have a symbiotic relationship. I don't want to just say, hey, do a piece of art for me and I want it exactly like this. I
Right.
wanted everybody to go through the book and say, hey, each one of these pieces don't look the same. You know, and somewhere along the lines throughout the book, somebody's going to come across a piece that they can connect with because that's how they envision
Right.
Raziel. And so I thought it was really cool to have, you know, all of these different embodiments of what the artist envisioned in my words. And it was kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It was kind of awesome to see the words come to life and see them inspire these artists to make the pieces that they did. I was just blown
Cool.
away. You know, it was like seeing the seed that you planted 10 years ago turn into this beautiful tree in front of you, you know, and
Right.
it was just like each time a piece would roll in, I was just blown away by it. So yes, it's not sequential art. You've got it's 10 chapters. You have 11 pieces of art because, of course, you have the prologue. So that, I mean, technically, that's 11 chapters. Um, and then, like, of course, you've got the cover and then the 2 stretch goal pieces. And then the art book, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. The art book's not just like a cash grab. Like, it's not like, hey, you know, get a bigger format of the art. My dynamic of bringing all these artists in, like I said, was to put them in a different medium and to get their work out there and get eyes on it and try to get them more work. People to be like, hey, man, you know, this guy's a comic book artist, but look at how awesome this cover turned out. I want him to do my cover, you know, because I really respect all these artists. You know, we've been working together or we've been talking for a long time.
Even Steph Wilson.
Steph Wilson, even Steph Wilson. I mean, Steph Wilson's got a cover and everything on everything, so why not
I'm
include
telling
him
you, I
in
see
this
this guy
project?
everywhere.
Everywhere. He's like, yeah. So the art book isn't just going to be, oh, here's the pictures and they're bigger. You're going to get a rundown. Wendy Steen Shaner, who is she? What does she do? You know, like I said, that's important. My show, Russ Explode Studios, is basically, you know, I don't always, it's like us, you know, it's getting to know who the person is, what inspired
Sure.
them, what's the inspiration behind how this came to be. And so I wanted to, you know, show people, hey, here's Wendy Steen Shaner, and here's some of the projects that she works on. She does Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins, and she's got a new spinoff series, Sireness. Or hey, here's CB Zane. He does Scorpiana and Into the Suck, and you're not going to just get the bigger pieces of the pieces that you get in the book. You're going to, if I have the pencils, you're going to get the pencils. It's going to have um, the inks. It's going to have the finished colored art. If there's any kind of uh, doodles that I did. You know, hey, how do you want this laid out? And I doodled stick figures. That's going to be in there, you know, because something that I love, and that's kind of, and, you know, in talking about it in the shows, other people are like, I love that too. And that's kind of what birthed the art book is I wanted to give everybody a chance to not only get to know who each one of the artists are, get a snippet of what kind of works that they do, whether, you know, they do comic books or they just do, you know, cover art, you know, or if they have their own comics that they write and create. But you get to see the process from start to end. You get to see it go from my really crappy stick figure drawing to pencils to inks to colors, and you get to see that process of where it started and where it ended, because that's one of the coolest things to watch. You know, you have this idea and it goes from point A to point, you know, Z. How does it get
Right.
there? You know, and that's what you're going to get in the art book. You're not just going to get, you know, each piece and it's in a bigger book and okay, here you go, here's all 13 pieces of art. You're going to get, like I said, you're going to get the background to each artist, what books they do, and that progression from start to finish of how we started with the idea for the piece and ended with it.
Very nice. Yeah, while you're talking, I'm scrolling through, showing the different artists and all the different tiers. Is it, how do you pronounce his last name? Jason Sue?
So
So, sorry about
yeah,
that.
no, it's fine.
Cool.
I had to ask him when I had him on. I've known him for a couple of years, and you know, I finally had him on. I'm like, dude, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Sue? Is it so?
This is the first time I've seen Steph Wilson draw something besides his.
Boobs.
Yeah.
Come on, Phil. Don't beat around the bush. Just say it.
All right, this is the first time. Yeah, his soft porn. And I'm not knocking it by any means. I'm just saying.
No. Yeah, so, you know, there's another dynamic for you. You want to get the first ever non-boob Steph Wilson.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Armando drew one of the monsters. That's really cool.
Yeah, so that is I'll talk about this a little bit. You know, this is one of the creatures that Xenonanite Titan Raziel runs into in the story later on. It's a Septibrute. It's a 7-armed beast. It's kind of reptilian, and they're pretty gruesome. So he did a great job. I love how it turned out. Armando's so good with the horror pieces, even though
he did a great job.
Even though he doesn't really like horror. Everybody
captured the mood. He captured the mood though with the inking and everything. He did a great job.
It's beautiful. I thought about having it colored, and I decided against it because I love.
Yeah, I think it's better. So we got Alfred Trujillo.
Trujillo, yeah,
Trujillo. Sorry.
Doobie doo.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's his intro.
David Harrigan.
Somebody made an intro song for him, so that's every time I announce his name, it's become Alfred Trujillo. Doobie doo.
There you go. Another depiction.
And that's another scene with the Septibrute.
Then we get the stretch goals. All right.
So the $6,000, which is what the unlock goal is. The reason why you know, the 6,000 was the goal that I had to hit is, you know, I wanted to incorporate everything that everybody wanted. And the art book was one of the things that, you know, I had a bunch of people who were like, yeah, man, you got to do the art book. I really want to see, you know, how things progress from start to finish. So I added it in there. But unfortunately, in order to keep it affordable for everybody, I had to decide on what the minimum print run of each one was going to be to try to bring the cost down as low as I could. And that's going to be the minimum print run to be able to sell it at the price that I'm selling both books at with shipping. And then, of course, after the 10% with Kickstarter and then, you know, the taxes that I have to pay on it and all. I mean, that's basically, if we hit the 6,000, that's me not making anything off of it. That's not even, you know, touching anything that I've put like.
People don't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I put $3,000 into the book between the art and the editing.
Yeah, people don't understand. Paying the artist, paying the letterer, the editor, shipping, printing, and then you're giving away other things. Like if you're going to make shirts and you're going to make stickers and you're going to make bookmarks, this all costs money. So people think you walk away with this a lot of money. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when we hit the 6,000, I won't be breaking even, but at least the book will be printed and it'll be in people's hands, and that's what I really
Right.
want. I'm not in this, to make money. I have a 9 to 5 that pays the bills, and it's like I do this because I love it, and I want to share these stories with everybody, and I just need help doing it. Getting the print run out there, especially after the year that I've had. So it's six
I think
thousand
it's great
dollars.
just to pledge to you just to see Steph Wilson piece that isn't TNA. Which Phil Leon said, "What? There's such a thing as a non-boob Steph piece."
And so this is something that's really near and dear to me. So at $6,000, which is what the fund goal is, we unlock the CB4K.org Xenonanite Titan shirt. So if you scroll down a little bit there, Phil, yeah, keep going down, keep going right there. This is super important to me, guys. I want to take it just a second to talk about it.
Sure.
CB4K.org is something near and dear to my heart. So it's comic books for kids. Mark is a great guy. He lives in Illinois. I met him at C2E2 last year. I've been donating through my comic shop that I buy through in Pennsylvania for several years, and I got to meet him last year, and it was an honor to talk to him. The work he does is amazing. Basically, every bit of money that they make goes towards shipping comic books to hospitals, cancer centers across the nation,
Beautiful.
where kids, this may be the last thing that they do is read these comic books. They may never
Right.
get to go home again, but this is giving them something to take away from what they're going through in the hospital. And we
Sure.
all know how much it is to ship comic books. And I mean, and Mark's such a big deal. Image has partnered up with them. Dark Horse has partnered up with them. And even though they send him books, he still has to pay to ship hundreds of books to the hospitals, which is
Right.
hundreds of dollars. So I feel really deeply in love with this charity. So the reason why this unlocks at the funding goal is because I didn't want it to affect my print run. But officially, unofficially, in supporting the shirt, you're supporting that. So, and I love the message here. This is I'm a Titan for CB4K.org. You've got me as Xenonanite Titan, my son in bed after open heart surgery, and my daughter at the foot of the bed with a get well balloon. So you not only do you have some awesome Steph
Nice.
Wilson art that Steph Wilson and Carrie Ann did, it has some meaning to it. It means a lot to me because it's my family right there. It's my character right there. And you guys are going to be promoting, and not only promoting the charity by wearing it proudly, you're also going to be supporting the Kickstarter or the charity unofficially.
Very nice. Do you have extra
Oh.
large for people with shelves over their stomachs?
You know what? Yeah, we're going to be able to get it whatever we need to get it in. So that's not really a stretch goal. I just, didn't have it as where it was unlocked because I didn't want, to sell 100 shirts, and it put me halfway to my goal, and I'm like, wait, I'm not going to be able to pay for the print run
Right.
for the book. So I'm really excited about that. Steph's really excited about that. He was really excited to do the piece, and I'm really thankful for him and Carrie doing it because it turned out beautiful. And adding
Yes,
Sissy at the
did.
foot of the bed with the get well balloon. That was Wendy Steenshainer's idea. She's like, you got to add Sissy at the end of the bed. And I'm like, I never thought about it. That's great. We'll do it.
Sweet. And you got a Titan sticker, metal bookmark, metal trading card. 9,000. You can do a nationwide tour. $25 signing add-on. One-time fee for unlimited books purchased signed by all the artists. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So the sticker was, if you watch the video and you see that sticker with him in the video and he's got his arms crossed with the pistols, that's the sticker. I don't know why I didn't add the image of it in there because I'm a doofus, I guess. Um, so Wendy Steenshaner did do the sticker for that. So it's going to be a die cut sticker. Like I said, the metal bookmark will be Pete Vasquez's art, and I did add it in there. No, I didn't. I was supposed to, and I forgot. So I will add that in there tonight.
Cool.
But it's on the Russ Explode Studios. You can see it, or on my page, you can see the artwork on there. And then the trading card is the artwork that April Grady Reyna did, which actually I can show that to you guys once we get done showing it off. I'll pull it up on here so I can show you guys without having to Try to
So for
find it.
10,000, we get to watch you do get a live tattoo.
So this the nation. So I looked at it this way. 2020 sucks. I got a lot of awesome
Yeah.
artists that did great pieces. They not only inspired me, but they took my words and they just blew me away with the art that they came up with on it. And I know you guys are going to just be blown away when you see the art. And not only is it going to be hard to try to get, art signatures from each of these artists, because you got California, you've got one of them lives 2 hours from me, and then you got
Right.
some in Florida, North Carolina, all over the place. And so, I thought it'd be a cool dynamic if we ended up hitting that goal, that I would drive to each location and we would go live and be like, I'm here with Wendy Steen Shaner, and she's signing her pieces in the book. And the only reason I would charge the $25 for it, if you guys want it signed, is to help with gas and lodging and all that fun stuff. But it's flat rate because there are add-ons. You can add on extra copies of the art book. You can add on extra copies of the hardcover, and that's because I did get add-on capability. And so if you buy 10 books, you buy 100 books, you buy one book, you buy the book and the art book. If you want one book signed or all of them signed that you buy, it's just $25 flat. You don't have to pay $25 for each book. And like I said, that's just help for gas. And then if you guys go back and you watch, either look it up on YouTube under Russ Explode Studios or look it up on Facebook under Russ Explode Studios Books with Heart, and find the show that I did with Wendy Steen Shaner and Christina Haggerty. I have to say that is the most off the chain show I have ever been in. Seen, we had like 30 people in there. I mean, it was just off of the rails, insane, and it's all everybody's been talking about, and that was where Blue Balls reviews came from. So if
That's
you
what
ever
that is,
see,
because you guys brought that up in a chat one day on one of my shows, and I was like, I didn't know what you guys were talking about.
yeah, so the exploding blue balls is a joke. So during that show, we were talking about, when I did pyrotechnics and stuff like that. And so we had this shot where it went bad and one of the boxes exploded and it laid the tubes out on the ground. And so there was blue mortars shooting across the ground and they were exploding and the cows were running for their lives. And so everybody had a good laugh about exploding blue balls. Well, then the next day, Danny D, one of the members of the audience, post this picture on my wall of balls hanging from a barbed wire fence, and like it looked like a bull had tried to jump the fence and it just sheared them off and
Oh,
they were just hanging
jeez.
there, and like it didn't look photoshopped, it looked like natural, and I got a good laugh out of it. Well, then like it wasn't even 2 hours later, Christina Haggerty saved the photo, photoshopped a blue explosion over it, and then reposted it on my page. So then I had exploding blue balls on my page. So it became like it's infiltrated into Sean Forney's feeds. It's infiltrated into Rodney Fike's feeds, and it's just proliferated across the internet about exploding blue balls entertainment. And so Heather had approached me about doing book reviews. She was having somebody do book reviews for her, and I'm like, well, why didn't you ask me? I'll do book reviews for you. And so it was like 2 minutes later, I messaged her. I'm like, I got it. We'll call it Blue Balls Reviews, and it'll be Exploding Blue Balls Entertainment. And I'll get on there, and my host name will be Harry Sachs. I'm like, we'll have a good time with it. It'll be fun.
Harry Sachs, nice.
Yeah, so I changed my name to Harry Sachs. I wear a giant afro wig, and I get on there and I review books, and we rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 exploding blue balls. And so I was like, I like to be serious, but I like to have fun, and that's just how all my shows are. And, it's just me in general. I like to be creative. I like to have fun and be serious at the same time. And so I was like, I'm like, if I had a PR department, I would probably be fired right now. And so I did the first show and I was just blown away. It was like 10 minutes in, I had like 28 people on watching, and half of them I had no idea who they were. They were just there because Blue Balls Reviews was on and some dude named Harry Sachs was reviewing books. And it was fun.
That's
We
great.
had a blast. I mean, we constantly had people coming in, and so I was like, maybe this wasn't such a stupid idea, and we'll run with it. So now every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, I do book reviews on top of my shows on Sundays and Tuesdays. And
Cool.
so, yeah, I love promoting other people's work, and that's, like I said, getting back to to the Kickstarter with the art book. That was a huge way with not only having the art book, but to promote them and show off their work, and because people may have never heard of Into the Sock, or with Jason So, he does Necroman. People may have never heard of that. It's a really cool book. Um, so I wanted to get their work out there, and my plans for book 2 and book 3, which book 2 is already in. I've been writing it. I'm already like a little over 2 chapters in. I haven't been writing the last few weeks because of the holidays and stuff. Um, but I want to bring in more artists. So, the next book I may keep Wendy and Ed, or, a few here and there, but I'm going to mix the rest of them up. I'm going to bring in new artists, like probably Rodney Fike, Sean Forney. I want to get with some of these artists that I've had on my show and show off their work. One of the other ones that I really have fallen in love with is I want to try to get Nancy Vasconcelos on the book, because she does pieces for Wendy Steen Shaner, and they're absolutely, they blow me away.
I'll have to check it out.
So this is April Grady Reyna's piece. This is the metal trading card.
Nice. Very nice.
I don't know why I didn't put it up there on the Kickstarter. And then this is the piece that Pete Vasquez did. That'll be on the bookmark.
Good old Pete. I don't think he realized you were my guest tonight. I spoke to him right before we went on.
So yeah, this is the piece that he did. So yeah, he was super excited. He's like, "Hey man, I want to do something for the book. What, you got anything that I can do?" I was like, yeah. I was like, we can do the piece for the bookmark. So I had him draw that up, and it turned out fantastic. And it's
Nice.
been great. I love the indie community. Everybody asks me why I don't get a publisher, why I don't go get an agent. Because the book's fantastic. You could sell hundreds and thousands of copies if you would go to somebody that knew how to market this. And it's like, I love the indie community. I love the relationship I have with the artists, with the indie crowd, and it's like, I tell them, I said, I'm not in it for the money. You misinterpret why I'm writing books. I want to share stories with people that I can go to a con and have them walk up to the table and sit and talk to them for 3 hours. I could care less if I sell a book while I'm there. It's about making memories and making relationships with people. And somebody walking up and saying, "Hey, I loved your book," and talking about it, or somebody saying, "Hey, I hate your book," and be like, "Okay, why do you hate it? What would you like to see me change?" And I think as an author, it helps, or as a writer or a creator, it helps to have those people come up and say, "Hey, this is why I hate it. This is why I love it." Because it gives you a building block for the next book that you do of, I need to do more of this and less of this.
Sure, the feedback.
And people are really, yeah. And so that's what's been fun about it. I wrote this story. It's really good. And I want, to speak with the fans, talk with the people that have wrote it. I plan on doing cons and trying to sell books. You guys will see me there. Walk up to me, talk to me about it. But, I want you guys to help me build the writing style and tailor it. What do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? And I want to do what you guys want me to do and still write the story the way I want to write it.
By the way, we have a fellow writer in the chat. Hey, Lewis, how are you?
Hey, Lewis.
I met Lewis recently. He's another writer. Writing for me is, I always had a creative mind. So writing for me is not an issue as far as coming out with things. Obviously, you have to, there's a structure and a formula to writing, though. For me, the problem was pacing. I was so excited to get to the cool part that I didn't take my time to get there. That's my issue. But looking at the Kickstarter, again, I just want to show everybody. All right, why is it doing that? There we go. You have 9 days to go, right? And you're 37% funded. So we really are asking everybody. It's not a lot of money. We've pissed away a lot of money on some silly stuff that we didn't even get to invest in. It's a good story. It's a really good story. You could spend the money on the story. You keep it forever. Read it to your kids someday. Reread it yourself. There's more coming out. So I'm telling you, you're going to get hooked and you're going to want more. There's so many reasons to support this, including the charity that, proceeds will go to when you can get into the, funding the book and everything. I highly recommend to everybody, please. The link is scrolling right there, and I'm putting it right here in the chat for you to click right now and go. Oh, the chat went to Creatorcon, but uh, go and pledge. And if you can't pledge, share. Get as many people to see this as possible. He's got 9 days left. We want to see this funded. I think you'll be disappointed if you don't see this funded. It's a solid book, really well written. It's a human story, but it's also a fun action story. His pacing is really good. He doesn't, you're not feeling bored or drawn out, but yet you're still having enough time to invest in the characters, especially the protagonist, relate to him, and want to root for him, which that's where a lot of stories fall. This story is strong in that. Again, with also some awesome set pieces and climactic fights and sci-fi tech and just relatable characters. So I highly recommend you pledge this book, get this book. Seriously.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. This is a 10-year labor of love. I've poured everything, my heart and soul into this book, and I can honestly sit here and say I'm super proud of the way the book turned out. I don't think it could be any better than what it is. There may be a few weak points in the book that I can, grow as an author and do better on, but I think it's a solid story. I think it's a fun time, and I'm excited to keep going with it. I'm excited for people to read it, and you guys definitely don't want to miss out on this book because I guarantee you'll love it. And there's more twists and turns in it than 2020 had. I can guarantee. People always say you. I wouldn't guarantee that. I can guarantee that. I put a lot of time and effort into developing this story so where you're not going to know what happens next because I hate that, and I do it to my wife all the time. I ruin movies for her, so I made this book almost anti-ruin proof. So but I love it, man. It's great. I really appreciate you having me on to show this off. This project means the world to me, and I'm really hoping I can make this dream a reality.
I hope so too. Let me ask you, what made you not go to Indiegogo first? Because doesn't Indiegogo allow you to go as long as you want? You don't have just the month to meet a goal?
Almost everybody that I know doesn't like Indiegogo, and I've never used Indiegogo, and I've never really been a huge fan of Indiegogo because I don't feel, I don't know. Every time I go to Indiegogo account and I look at a project on there, I don't feel like it's as personal as it is on Kickstarter. Like Kickstarter, to me, I'm a person. I like stuff that's personable. I like to be involved with people. I like to talk with people. I like to keep them updated. I like to chat, get feedback, and I feel like Kickstarter gives you more opportunity to chat with your audience and to
Gotcha.
provide feedback, and it has the more personable experience to it. And so I was really drawn to Kickstarter because of that. I think a lot of what's kicked me in the butt is the holidays and the time of year that it was, but I wanted to do the project right. The project's done, the art's done. I have all the art in hand. Everything's uploaded. The book is done. The book has been edited. I'm finishing doing the editing right now. So by the time the Kickstarter ends, you have a project that's ready to go to printer. The only reason
Sweet.
why I set a goal of April was because everybody knows it's the holidays. We don't know how shipping is. And we have all these shutdowns underneath of us. So
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, oh, the book's done. You guys are going to have it, at the end of January. And then the printer shuts down that I have set up to use.
Better for them to be surprised early than upset that it's late.
Yeah, it's easier to explain, hey, it's going to take until April because everything's shut down and I'm still waiting on this stuff to ship to me than it is to go, well, I know I said you would have it the first week of February, but
Right.
yeah. So yeah, no, I just want to give myself enough wiggle room. I like to plan ahead on stuff. And
Right.
so that was one of the big things. I'm like, we're just going to nip it in the bud. Everything's done. You're going to get the book probably early, but I want to make sure that we can have everything in your hands by the time I promise it.
Cool. So before we go, again, plug your show that you do.
So I do a show on Russ Explode Studios on Sundays and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Anybody that has a project, artists, creators, writers, people with Kickstarters, people with Indiegogos, anybody that you want to get your stuff on the air, you want to get on, you want to share your project, you want to talk about the stuff that inspires you, because I want to talk about the stuff that inspires you. I want to get to know who you are as a person, because we can all back books all day long, but it's all about the people that write them, and meeting them. And so I do my show, like I said, Sundays and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Shoot me a message. Say, hey, I got this project coming out next month. I'd like to talk about it and get some airtime and kind of let people know what's coming.
Cool.
You have a project going right now. Hit me up. Say, hey, I got a project. It ends in 7 days. I need some help. Whatever it is. I don't charge anything. I'll make up all the graphics. We'll share it out. And you can get on and chat with us and probably derail in the comments and have more crazy blue ball conversations. Nice. Like, I'm telling you, man, we have really good shows. They stay kind of quiet, and then we'll get a week where it just gets completely out of hand. We got like 25, 30 people in there, and just like comments are going all over the place, and that's the fun of it. We just roll with it, whatever people say, we're putting it up there and we're laughing and we're joking, and it's a good time because it's a relaxed setting. That's not like we're getting on and like on
right.
here, you didn't drill me.
I've had people say my show's not. I've had people say my show's not polished. It needs to be technically polished. I like not being polished. I don't give a crap about that. By the way, Sean Chen, hey Phil, why don't you wear the nice shirts when I'm on your show? Sean, it's because I feel so comfortable with you, my friend. That's why. Because you're such a down-to-earth superstar in the industry. That's why. So I felt comfortable.
So check out Russ Explode Studios Books with Heart. Give me a like, give me a follow. Come in and check out the show. We have a great time. It's a really relaxed setting. Like I said, I'm not getting on there to drill anybody. It's always funny. I get, yes, Rusplosion. So, it's always funny when I get people that have never seen the show or that don't know me. They're like, so do you have a question list? I'm like, what do you mean a question list? I'm like, no, we're going into this blind. I'm like, dude, I can make up questions.
Most people do. I don't, but most people do.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's my thing. You could sit there and you could try to make a format all day long, and by the third question, your audience has you so derailed. At least on my show.
Sometimes they do, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, throw it out the window.
Well, for me, it's if you have a sense of what I'm going to ask, you'll never get caught off guard.
Yeah.
And there's no silent. Ooh, that's a good question. Because you stay silent for 5 seconds and you're going to see 5 people drop out of the room.
Hey, you know what? When all else fails, the answer is 42.
42?
Yeah, the answer is 42. That's the answer to life.
You're going to have to explain that.
You've never seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You got to go watch it.
No, I didn't watch it. I've never watched it.
Yeah, you got to check it out. It's funny. That's okay. They asked this computer that's supposed to be the smartest computer on Earth what the meaning of life is. It's kind of like, Monty Python and the meaning of life, And so they asked this computer, and like they end up going back later, and they decide that it's like 42 is the answer to life. And so, if you're ever in any chat, like especially like with Wendy and them, that's always the answers we always throw out. Everybody's always like 42 if all else fails, the answer is always 42.
Nice. Well, look, right. Russell, I wish you the most success with this. I really hope it gets funded. I want to see the book continue, and we want you back for the next Kickstarter. When you're working on, was it book 3?
Book 2. So this is book 1.
Right.
Yeah, so
okay.
This is book 1, and then next, I'm planning on probably end of next summer, book 2, and then probably spring of the following year, 2022, for book 3.
Right.
So this isn't something you guys are going to have to wait on. You're not going to read it and go, holy shit, Philip was right. This book's badass. When am I going to get the next book? So I'm not going to mess around. We're gonna get them out there. You're not going to be waiting 2 or 3 years for the next book. If something were to happen that this does fail, I'm trying again. Come next year when COVID blows over and people go back to work and people are doing better, We're throwing it back up there, and I'm going to keep going. I mean, this book, I've been working on it for 10 years. It's badass and it needs to be out there, and if I have to kickstart it 15 times before it gets out there, then that's what it's going to take. Or
Go
if somebody
for it.
gives me $1 million to print a bunch of copies and hand them out to everybody.
Don't quit. Never quit. I agree. Russell, it was great to have you on. Thank you so much for coming, man. I appreciate it. Again, I wish you the best of luck. And we'll have you back with book 2.
Thanks a lot, Philip. I really appreciate it.
All right. Go check them out tomorrow night. Tuesday, it's tomorrow. So 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. And tomorrow I don't have anybody. Sunday I have William Russell on.
Okay. The Angry Artist.
Yep. We'll be on Sunday. I got to get the stuff.
He's so angry. He unfriended me, and I have no idea why.
Well, see, that was funny. I was talking to him today on his show about doing a show with him, and he's like, "Why aren't we friends anymore?" I'm like, "I don't know. Did you get mad at me and unfriend me or something? Because I didn't. That's Facebook, whatever." But yeah, no, I have a show with him Sunday. But tomorrow, I think I'm just gonna do like a live Q&A. It'll be me and come ask me questions about Xenonanite Titan. We'll look at some stuff. I'll show off some art pieces. Cool. I'm definitely gonna go and upload the stuff tonight. So I apologize for not having that stuff on there. But
cool.
I appreciate you having on me, man. I really do. It means a lot to me.
Absolutely. Like I said, you're always welcome. Tomorrow night, guys, check it out. 8 Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see some more cool art from his book. Russell, have a great night, man. Thanks again, and we'll be seeing you on the internet.
Yep.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
So that was another great show with Russell Allen. Great guy, as you can see. Great project, great book. Please go pledge. We all want to help each other's dreams come true. We really want to work together as a community. I always preach this, that let's build each other up instead of tearing each other down. Anything you can do. Pledging is fantastic, even if it's a $10 PDF. But if you can't, share. Share it out to as many people as possible. Get enough eyes on it so that they can get the book. Okay, so please pledge and support Russell Allen. I've been avoiding saying the name because I'm going to say it wrong. Xenonanite Titan. Jesus, sorry about that, Russell. He's laughing backstage. But anyway, you get the point. So go check that out. Excuse me. Tomorrow, Creatorcon Q&A has artist Bella Racklin. Unfortunately, we have to do a 3 p.m. show tomorrow because she lives in Israel, and the time difference would make it too late for her to do an evening show like I do a night show. So 3 p.m. tomorrow, be here for Bella Racklin. If you haven't seen her art, it's amazing. She's an amazing artist. She's a really sweet person. So she'll be an awesome guest. And then Friday, we have Jan Duursema and we have Tom Mandrake. Jan Duursema is most known for Star Wars, but she's done plenty of other published work. And Tom Mandrake is most known for Spectre and Martian Manhunter. So that's Friday at 10 p.m. So please come out. And I'm going to remind you guys again, this Saturday, December 12th, in the Long Island area in Comac, 118 Veterans Highway, Comac, New York. From 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., we have an art sale meet and greet. Larry Stroman, Keith Williams, Pete Vasquez, who we discussed here, Alex Rivera, Tony Cordos, Mauro Zapata, Henry Martinez, Jay Peralta, which is Ultra Messer. There'll be a lot of people at the show. I will be there representing Legendary Illustrations with some of the artists that I rep. They will be there at my table. It's a $5 cash at the door. You can pick up some art for yourself or for a loved one right before the holidays. Very inexpensive work. You all know who Larry Stroman is. You all know who Keith Williams is. And if you don't, then you haven't been in the comic industry long. Go find out who they are by coming to the show. It is not my show, but I am vending there. So please come out this Saturday, 11 to 4 p.m., 118 Veterans Highway, Comac, New York. And lastly, I just want to remind everybody of what I talk about all the time, Heroes for Causes. Please go check them out. Heroes for, the number 4 causes. They deal with pediatric cancer. They deal with cystic fibrosis, CF, I'm sorry. But they're going to start incorporating things like heart failure and things like that. They have a superhero book that addresses CF, and they have a superhero book that addresses pediatric cancer. The money that you spend on the book, you're going to get a great looking comic book with beautiful art, but you're also going to get help to a family that is dealing with this. Not just the children that are going through cancer or the patients of CF, which is a chronic, serious illness, but the family that deals with this as well. So please, Heroes for Causes, go check that out, okay? Everybody, thanks for coming out as always. It was great to see you. For those of you who checked out my video from this afternoon about Legendary Illustrations, thank you for the support. Thanks for watching. Support the indies, support the artists, support the craft. They got us through this, the lockdowns, and they will get us through any other lockdowns we have. So we have to support them. The way they got us through, we have to get them through, right? All right. As I always leave you with, be legendary and have fun storming the castle.